Alright then boy, welcome back from part 1, and if you're just joining us, I am LetemcomeInit, and I'm running down my pick for games you don't see in lists enough. Obviously these are my personal picks, so if you don't agree, let me know in the comments below. So with that being said, let's crack on.
Here is number 5.
Ah yes, now here's a game I've covered in both my O2 series and Damn Dirty Cheating, but with good reason. This little Mega Drive exclusive developed by Game Refuge Inc. is a real unique little number. It's quite a few things in one you'll discover as you play it. A top-down military fighting / strategy game combining elements of squad tactical play and real-time battles. Now on paper some games can make this seem fairly boring, but here's the trick, and that trick was not only to do all these elements very well, but to take a light-hearted comical route, and for that the game benefits hugely. In the 90s there was quite a lot of these humorous war games about, something that's sorely missing these days. But the art style here makes the general not only instantly recognisable, but instantly recallable, playing out somewhat like a mix between a G.I. Joe comic and the Beano. Your mission is fairly simple, beat your way across to the enemy base and kill him. There's different maps across which you'll have to fight, and on some of these there's extra objectives, like protecting a tank on map, or destroying an enemy water tower. How you play the game is fairly tactical, but down to your own preference and play style. Being a little like a game of chess, each of the classes have their own strengths and weaknesses, so it's down to careful placement and planning. You can go down the point and click route with the larger squad selection, or you can play as the commando squad, which allow freelance control on the D-pad but only come in twos. But General Chaos really is a game that has to be played to really understand what makes it a classic, and well worth a go today.
Here is number 4.
Knights of the Round, another classic themed arcade scroller. This time it's Capcom's beat 'em up take on the Arthurian legend and the Knights of the Round Table. Released in 1991 in the arcade and ported later to the Super Nintendo and the Capcom Power System Changer, the plot loosely follows the legend, with Arthur pulling Excalibur from a rock and realising his destiny to become the first true king of England. Merlin then sends him and 2 Knights of the Round Table, Percival and Lancelot, to defeat the evil King Garibaldi and unite the country. But this bit is all a bit bollocks though, as in England a Garibaldi is actually just a biscuit. The gameplay features a good challenge with tight and responsive controls including special attacks for each player, but what really sets this apart is the levelling system. As you complete each level, points you've accumulated go towards levelling up, gaining better attacks and stats, and this really makes you want to play on with all characters to see each new level up. And for my money, though Golden Axe is a certified classic with its magic system and its dragons, just take a look at the glorious backgrounds on offer here. Not to mention you get to ride a warhorse. I don't even know what this squat goblin is.
Here is number 3.
If you're looking for a really unique old school game, then look no further. I remember renting this as a kid when it came out back in the day, and it's stayed with me ever since. Essentially it's a puzzle game, but the premise is utterly inspired and I can't think of anything else really like it. Oh yeah, apart from this arsehole's complete rip-off on Steam, that is. Developed and produced by Electronic Arts, you play as Polterguy, a rebellious punk teenager who died using a defective skateboard manufactured by evil business tycoon Vito Sardini, and you're back from the grave for revenge. You enter into various objects in the house and possess them, leading to various hilarious scares throughout the level. The idea is to get each family member's fear level high enough to force them to flee the house. With 4 houses and 400 objects to haunt, each playthrough can be totally different. However, each item you haunt will lose you some of your ecto, and when it runs out you'll have to return to the underworld to replenish it. The art style of the game is really striking and memorable, and kind of feels like an isometric 16-bit Sims game. Though it can be fairly pricey to get your hands on a full box version these days, I defy anyone not to find this crude green dude not endearing.
Here is number 2.
Worms, 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 worms. Now here's a game that's criminally unmentioned these days. Produced by the British company Team 17, you control a platoon of weaponised worms blasting the living hell out of each other. You play for league points across various random generated landscapes. In concept, the game has elements of games such as Artillery Duel about it loosely, with its projectile trajectory style aiming and shooting, but there isn't a lot else out there like Worms and it's hugely innovative. The franchise has proved greatly successful too, with 25 games under its belt spanning from 1995 with the original, through to Worms Weapons of Mass Destruction in 2016. As a matter of fact, this original title was ported to no less than 10 different platforms and consoles. Check these out. There's the original Amiga version, featuring less weapons but a cool training mode. Amiga CD32 with the added soundtrack. The Game Boy version with the faithful but awful theme tune recreation. It also looks and sounds a bit like bollocks. The Mega Drive version, the SNES version, and the Jaguar version, which is pretty close to the graphics on the PS1 version, so fair play. And finally a Mac version, a Saturn version, and a DOS version. And although the game itself may seem fairly simplistic in its design, it's terribly addictive. I used to spend countless hours building leagues, entering my mates and enemies into teams, and pitting them off against each other in league battles. Since the game is turn-based, with 4 players on each team and 4 teams in one match, you could potentially play up to 16 players, if the mood takes you. And at the end of each match, you'll also get some stats like most useless worm, best shots/kills, and other things, and this makes the game much more entertaining. It's not just the gameplay, however, that is memorable for me, as the game's soundtrack really fits the mood. It's a sort of very sparse, low-key kind of affair that almost adds a sense of loneliness and isolation to the playing field. A low background kind of soundscape that's hard to explain but is always there in the game, and one I distinctly remember to this day. Oh, and the inclusion of one of the best theme tunes ever, of course. So although by today's standards the graphics may seem slightly rudimentary to some, it's the great gameplay and concept that's praises need to be sung. A gritty, crazy, hilarious little gem of a game.
Here is number 1.
Constructor, a really bizarre and utterly genius unique building sim. Developed by System 3 and released in 1997 on DOS and Windows plus a PS1 port in 98. You take control of a construction company with various mission modes to play, ranging from financial conquest to a mission to build every type of house in the game. Starting at grassroots, you build a lumber yard to gain access to wooden houses, then a cement factory, brick yard, and eventually a steel yard too, each bringing with it new buildings to construct, new tenants to unlock, and new undesirables. And this is where your job gets complex. There is a lot to do in this game, and it will not hold your hand for a second. The challenge, however, is one of the most addictive parts of the game. I'll give a basic overview of how it works. Your factories produce your basic building materials, which you'll need to keep in stock, and your tenants produce either revenue in rent or tenants in the form of children or other special bonuses. You also get special amenities buildings like hospitals and schools which provide various bonuses, and finally you have your undesirables, but we'll get to them in a minute. Now, a word on your tenants. You're gonna love them and loathe them in equal measure. Hilariously lampooning every class of peoples in the Great British Isles, this is where the humour in the game really starts to shine through. Each one with their own set of unique complaints, they'll be sure to let you know when they're anything but happy. But far from being overly irritating, well, okay, those posh twats repeatedly asking for more rose arbours gets on my pip sometimes, these complaints are downright hilarious. And playing against the computer will add a new set of challenges too. Don't heed my warning lightly though, as the AI in this game will wail mercilessly on you if you're not careful. That's where these guys come in, the undesirables. Each of these guys will perform some very nasty tricks and treats for you, from the hippie picketing a factory and stopping all work, to a chainsaw wielding psycho destroying buildings. The damage you can inflict and the amusing deaths you can dish out will keep you coming back for more. And some of my favourites would have to be Mr. Fix-It, a dodgy repairman who will let himself into a property and fix either the gas or plumbing, causing it to explode or sink entire estates, or the council flat thugs, going round to people's gaffs, having uninvited parties and street brawls wherever they fancy. The game's soundtrack is also a beauty, and real attention to detail has gone into every element of the game. with a different well thought out music loop for almost every situation, character, tenant, job or action. And herein lies the real beauty of it. It has charm by the bucket load, a brilliant sense of British humour, and the amazing level and dedication to detail. So there you go, 10 games you don't hear enough about these days. But let me know your picks in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, do subscribe to my channel here. And if you'd like to see some more, check out my other videos here. Thank you and good night.